So myself, JRC from Tantra Foundation, and I've got Morrison, and I've got one of the dance use, if I say Kavitha Krishnan from Maya Dance Company.
Maya Dance Theatre.
Yes, and she has come here for a performance, and she would explain her journey from classical dancing, Bharatanatyam, she started with, and then into adding different dimensions to the dancing, and now dance been seen as healing therapy, therapeutic use of it. Yes. So if you just explain your journey as you started classical, dancing.
So I started Bharatanatyam from a very young age.
Yes.
And coming from Singapore, traditions was one of the ways that we could get ourselves connected to the greater part of India.
Yes.
And so we started learning dance at the age of 3. And
so you're born in Singapore?
I'm born in Singapore,
okay.
yeah. And I completed my Arangetram at the age of 8.
Mm-hmm.
So completely immersed and enjoyed the world of Bharatanatyam.
Yes.
But as I got older and I represented Singapore in ASEAN flagship production called Realizing Rama. It was directed by award-winning choreographer Denisa Reyes from Ballet Philippines. I was very intrigued by the contemporary space. We had dancers who were ballet trained. We had traditional dancers who were coming from the different ASEAN countries. And I was very intrigued of how she opened the space with a contemporary design for all of us to communicate, regardless of whether we were contemporary trained, ballet trained, or traditional trained. And I toured with that company for about a few years. So that had a very big impact in my space to then think about this gray space which I enjoy much. If Bharatanatyam could enter into this gray space with any other dance forms, particularly contemporary dance, how would it look like? How would it feel? What would the textures be like? So that is where I started Maya Dance Theatre, to find this space of expression with fellow artists the dancers were either hip-hop dancers or contemporary dancers with ballet training, and we came in together. So in this space, I teach them Bharatanatyam, the nuances of it, not to become a Bharatanatyam performer, but rather how do you, as you had mentioned, use the nuances of Bharatanatyam in then traversing through that space. So the DNA of a dancer, what is it made of, is what I'm interested in, and I'm in that practice. Apart from that, I also see dance as a very, very poignant tool to address social issues and to shed light on social stories. So I use the interdisciplinary dance theatre as a framing to then bring forth questions, messages.
Women empowerment and things like that, gender equality.
It depends on what touches me. Yeah, so it starts from me. And then we take it into a discussion, and then it goes from there. So what I've done thus far is I've worked on mental health. I've worked on seniors and finding their space in the society, especially in the urban society, where many of them are isolated. Or are we isolating them? So those kind of questions. I've also worked on addressing domestic sexual violence against women and children. Yeah, and recently, just before COVID, we collaborated with a German collaborator, Ibtans, with choreographer Ilona Ibtisi, and we discussed on the idea of the body. What is this body? What type of bodies does society accept?
Rianto was talking about the body today.
Oh, he did, right? Yeah. So so for us, we went a little bit more to talk about body in terms of body shaming. I included, so I included my dancer, a special needs dancer with Down syndrome in the work. And many a times I find that they are left in a space of being an exhibition material, right? When somebody different walks in, diversely abled walks in, we look not to listen, we look not to want to know more, but we look because they look different.
We look to look, just.
I love that, right? We look to look. And that disturbed her. So she wanted to talk about it. So we involved her and invited her to then discuss about her space. which over some time, this was done in 2019, and we just before I came here, I did another solo performance with her. She's evolved. And now she's talking about what you just mentioned, the healing space.
Yeah.
Right? And she says that, yes, I'm upset when you look at me differently, you know, and just for your information, I don't eat a lot. I'm a person with Down syndrome. My muscles don't have enough power, and so they look flabby. But that doesn't mean that I am binging, eating. Right? Get to know me as a person to understand why is my body responding in this way. And she's moved on to then write a little note to herself to then go into this space to use dance as an element of hers to then articulate these lines that she gave me. She says, breathe, see the sunshine, feel the space. And then she says to everybody, take me for who I am.
Yes, and also like I would like to add to this thing is like when we see any other kind of art form, like for example like singing or painting or like any other thing in between. So generally people see like art as a form of release, so it helps in a lot of psychological stresses to be released.
Tension build up and release.
Yes, like as you said, like it's art is a very good healing medium for
Cathartic
the psyche
experience.
and for your psychological issues or mental issues. So art can be very helpful, but I would think that dance is probably the only genre where your body can also release, not only the mind.
Certainly. I mean,
Like your muscles can also release the
How
trauma.
can you differentiate the dancer from the dance?
And it's
Oh, I
very
love that.
freeing
yeah,
experience.
it's one, right?
It's
We
one.
become one.
Non-differentiated.
Yeah, and more than dance, actually, I like the word movement.
Yes, movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people love free movement.
Because
it kind
you
of
see-
releases a
Because
lot
you
of.
see, time is defined by movement.
Yes, time is defined by
Like
movement.
I have actually heard a lot of people who had mental issues and trauma like to say that they love actually dancing, and when they dance they actually kind of let themselves loose,
Yeah,
so it kind of helps the body to kind of release trauma.
Inhibitions.
Yeah, inhibitions and trauma, and like they feel like they're much more freer when they do that.
so my background, apart from being a dance artist, I'm a trained occupational therapist.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, with a mental health focus. My forte is mental health, special needs, as well as senior care.
Yeah.
And we did this work called Anvesha Beyond the Darkness,
Yes.
and it was about mental health and specifically looking at schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and anxiety, and so on and so forth. So when I actually spoke with my clients, and they're visual artists, so they were doing visual therapy, right? So when I asked
Art
them,
as healing also.
Yes, art as healing.
Great.
So we invited them to the space to then watch the rehearsal and give me what they see, right, through their paintings. So there was this guy who drew a very, very slim, slender tunnel. There's light above, but there's not much light below. And he put a little guy in there. And then he came to me and he said, Kavi, this guy is the guy who's dancing there. He was in the VR project as well, Sharin. So he said, this guy, in the process, this guy is here because he's stuck. He's just not able to release. He's very, very afraid of space and his environment. There's light, but he can't go there because he's not ready. So what happened? We left that conversation there because we needed this dialogue to be able to create the scenes that we were working towards. We invited them back again to the production. We exhibited their works so that the audience have an immersive experience to feel what.
Immersive experience.
Yes.
As you say.
Yeah. So like it's feel the work, feel the subject from the visual entity, and then let's go in to watch it from the moving entity. When the production ended and he came back, he specifically held my hand and then he said, I want to tell you something. And he brought me to the painting. And then he said, this gentleman who's here has reached and is gone to light.
Immediate transformation you could see.
Yeah. On the same day, I had another client of mine who came and then told me he had drawn a ring a dark ring, and right at the end, there's a little tunnel with light. He came and told me the dancer who performed as the depression, as the mental health, I sort of personified it as a demon because they keep telling monster and things like that. So I used the dancer, the Indonesian dancer, Rianto's friend, Danang Pamungas from Solo, Indonesia, to be that dancer. And he used the bangle. So we used the bangle as an enticing way of telling people that when, it's in your will to move forward, and the will supports itself with medical
or clinical
aids and things like that, But if you default, then the bangle is what is attracting you, right? The demon is waiting. He came quickly to me and he said, this gentleman was the best dancer. So we all
immediately feel.
So we said, oh wow, that means you really understood his articulation and he was the great dancer. And maybe I thought, because he has not seen an Indonesian dancer, he loved it. He came to me and he whispered into my ears and he said, no, he came last night to me. He appeared and he came to me. Which means that he quickly associated this character that we have painted to his real life demon. And so because I was trained...
So there is a course correction.
There was. And he said that this gentleman, appeared in his space and talked to him and pulled him and dragged him down. And hence why his painting will not change. It will get even more darker.
Oh.
So then my next question, because I'm trained, right? My next question to him was not default in medication, but is your medication changed? Did you see a doctor? Has your medication changed? And he said, yes, my medication is changed.
Okay.
Right? So then...
You can correlate the data.
I could. It's because it was very obvious for me, right? My training is there. So immediately then I brought him with his permission to his visual arts therapist and I related this incident and I said he needs to go back to the same doctor and narrate that he's hallucinating, he's having delusions. Maybe the medication is not suitable.
Yes, probably he needs some other form of treatment.
Correct, yeah. So this is where I feel that I'm able to also practice dance in the healing space.
And also, I'm very interested when you said elderly care. So how do you think dance as an art form can help elderly care?
Okay, so in Maya Dance Data, if you go to our website, we have created this it's called Body in Motion. It's a set of creative movements that we have co-created with persons with disability, like Jasprit, whom we met earlier, who's from Diverse Abilities Dance Collective, a unit of Maya Dance Data, and with my active seniors. So we have created this package. It was created during the COVID time because we felt that the shutdown completely removed us from the elderly's or the seniors' social space. So we created this program, which is a 6-part episode of small sets of movements. You do it seated on the chair.
Okay, that's great.
So you start off with breathing, and from breathing you release your upper body and your lower body. And we used 2 themes to then create these movements with the seniors. So one was nature themed, and so you have things like the creepers. So the eye follows the creepers, right? And then you have another that we did was sunshine, literally stretching out to the sunshine.
When you do these, there is kind of a visualization also.
Yes.
Which they use in Tibetan Buddhism.
Exactly.
Visualization techniques.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And we want them to, even though they're seated, we want them to be able to shift their trunk and move forward and backwards. And there's no limitations to say that someone on a wheelchair or someone sitting on a chair is unable to do these movements. They can, right? So then the next set of movements introduce them to activities of daily living. Again, my role as a therapist came by very quickly. The cross between an artist and a therapist worked so well. The symphony was very excellent. So then we asked these seniors, to create movements that were associated to their daily activities. And I noticed that these movements that were created as part of this program is helping patients with dementia. because they tend to forget these activities
Yeah, Alzheimer's, yeah.
as well, right? So there was things like we had sweeping. So we had sweeping, we had rolling the dough, we had wiping, we had wiping the table, wiping the window. So there was a lot of stretch movement. So I was very calculated and analyzed with what is the biomechanics of the body as well.
And how much you're stretching.
Yes.
The
And all,
ergonomics of it.
yes, exactly. And what was beautiful was that the seniors were contributing to the movement. So there was, I remember this incident where, so my grandmother taught me, you wash clothes like that, right? So I said, okay, let's do washing clothes, right? You know, it's nice stretch and comes back, nice stretch and come back. And one senior looked at me for the longest time, and then she looked at me and she said, I don't do that anymore. That was during my grandmother's time. So then I said, so then what do you do? Oh, very simple, Kavi. I take the bunch of clothes from my basket, I go in front of my washing machine,
Just put it.
I just push them in, I shut it, tea, tea, tea. I sit and I shake my leg.
Mr. Bean.
And we took that. We adopted that movement. Because that's their space. That's what
You have
they...
to be contextual. Yeah.
Very true, right? And she was very happy that we didn't dismiss. We didn't rigidly say, okay, this is how you should go back to washing. But rather we, as you said, we made that context relevant to her and to everyone else.
Bespoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is available from Maya Dance Theatre's website, www.mayadancetheatre.org. And you go look for this called Body in Motion, and you can experience it.
Yeah.
Any
I
reason
would
why
want
you
everyone
named it
to,
Maya?
you know,
Like, I'm
go
very
through the
curious about
website.
the name. Like, why?
Maya?
Yes.
Okay. So Maya was born in the wee hours about 3:40 a.m.
Okay.
when three friends came together to talk about expression.
Okay.
So one of them is the creative producer of Maya Dance Theatre, co-founder Imran Manaf, who wanted to produce words that were very, like I said, you know, a space where you want to say something, you want to bring forth a message.
Freedom space, let's say.
Maybe we could say that, yeah. And it's interdisciplinary space. I wanted to create Maya, a space, not Maya, but a space that allowed me to be honest to myself. I have a physical limitation. I danced a lot when I was younger. I'm also a sports person, so I sustained a very bad injury. And I landed up having an operation at the age of 21 with a spinal fusion. So it took me about 8 months to recover. Dance is the one that brought me back to where I am today. But I can't do as much as what I used to do before, even if I wish to. So I dance a lot in my sleep, in my dreams. How do I choreograph? I visualize it in my body, and then I communicate it to the dancers. You know, that's what I do. So I always tell people that dance never gave up on me, and so why should I give up on dance? And I shall dance till death do us apart. So that's where I am.
Yeah.
And I still wanted to hold that special space of dance with many more people, because I felt that traveling around the world as a young dancer, dance connected me to people. Then it connected me to culture to language. And the space just widened itself, like you were not the other, but you were with me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I love dance a lot. And so I said, okay, I want to create a space where I'm able to bring the tradition and the contemporary together. And the third person is Juraimi. He's a teacher. And he said, how do we reach to young minds? We can educate, but sometimes that education is so on your face that they don't want to take. It's not bite size,
yes.
right? So why don't we express through movement? The first thing you said just now, like movement has its own quality of expression, and it's very perspective.
Yes.
So it's not going to be on your face. It's not a color. You define it. You know. So that's how Maya came by, and at that time, when all of those discussions came together, it felt like Maya was an illusion, right? That's what she is, right? When Maya is an illusion.
It's an illusion, yes.
So I always tell people, because she's an illusion, she gets real when you are in her space.
Beautiful.
Yes. Like that's why in spirituality we say like from Maya to Mahamaya, which is like the
greater-
real
yeah,
side of
yeah.
Maya.
Yeah.
As well.
So we end the conversation here, and
And it
with a
was
very
wonderful
small,
speaking with you and
yes.
knowing the diverse ways dance can be a healing medium for elders, for people with special abilities, for everyone out there. So, and I hope that this message reaches to all the
Yes.
audiences listening to us.
And we can
Thank
put in
you.
one simple note on a Leonard Cohen's song, "Dance Me to the End of Life."
Yes,
Yeah, it
dance.
was Dance Me to the End of Love, I think.
No, end of "Dance
Love,
Me to the End of Love."
yeah,
Okay.
yes, that's the Leonard Cohen song. Yes, and I think that suits best for you. That's
Yeah.
this that
That's a-
actually
that's a-
describes
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
Yes, I very much value the art of living, and dance plays a very major part in me connecting to myself,
Yeah.
and then I connecting with people like you and many others.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much
Thank
for the
you so
opportunity.
much.
Thank you.